All right, for section 5.5, we've got to show either SSS or HL congruence. And in the case of number 1, I can see that I've got markings on a pair of sides. I can see SSS happening for number 1, so I'm going to go right at what the directions say, and that's to justify by using colors. So I have a pair of sides that are congruent with 1 mark. I gave those a color. I have a pair of sides that are congruent with 2 markings. I gave those a color. And then I've got a side congruence by reflexive because that side belongs to both triangles, so that justifies my SSS. Now in number 2, the directions on these said decide whether enough information is given. Now in number 2, there's not. Can you justify? This is not the HL, and it's definitely not SSS. And part of the problem is that this is the hypotenuse on one side. This other hypotenuse is here. The hypotenuses aren't congruent. They're not corresponding congruent parts. These hypotenuses are not corresponding congruent parts. So hypotenuse, not corresponding congruent parts. I do expect some explanation there. Can't get to HL on that one. Now, as far as I'm concerned on 3, though, I can get to HL because the reflexive property comes in for that hypotenuse. They share it. There's my H, color coding again, justifying. There's my L. And then in a hypotenuse leg congruence proof, the last thing that you have to do is point out that you have right triangles. These are right triangles. So beyond my color, I have to do a statement about those right angle marks. Those guys are right triangles. Now I'm going to move along again in the position where this was an assignment from last week. We're just going over answers. I'm not taking time for people to just be copying. If you haven't thought through it, get the time to do that. In number 4, I've got statements and reasons, and I was able to do this one in 5 steps. I'm going to set myself up for my 5 steps and start color coding and talking about the givens. In the beginning of this, the given tells us that AC is bisecting BD, and that piece of information right there helps me to draw a conclusion about these side lengths. If AC is the bisector, that means here at C, this is where these segments are split into equal parts. And so actually, this is going to be a side-side-side congruence. And if I start my proof now just talking about this beginning, AC bisects BD as part of the given. And then I'm going to come underneath there, and the interpretation of that given is that BC is congruent to DC by the definition of a bisector. So that's my first S in SSS to prove. There's my first S. And then when I look at the given, they give us this AB and AD are congruent. I see that by markings. I'm going to come throw that in for my 3rd step. I just put an S there with my color. I'm going to go grab that AB congruent to AD. That came out of the given. There's my 2nd set of sides. And then to finish my SSS proof here, I'm just grabbing my 3rd color. And it has to do with us identifying that side AC on both triangles. And so that's saying AC is AC. And that's by reflexive. We're just making sure that that side is identified on both triangles. And so last but not least, I've got my SSS all the way down. I'm going to go grab the triangle congruent statement. Triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ADC. Going through each of the parts. I'm going to move on to number 5. Again, this is not time for you to copy. Some of you guys have it done. That's great. We're moving on. You made a few changes. Those of you who haven't put the time in yet, you're going to put the time in and check this out in a couple days on my YouTube page to see if you got it right. Just straight up copying is not getting you guys to understanding. That test is not going to go well if you spend this week simply copying. Statements and reasons. I did number 5 in 5 parts 2. This one is the one that could have been done in 4. You guys might have grouped something together that you'll see me separate. We'll see what happens here for this one. So when I start looking at, and I always just kind of start out, I'm hoping for an HL on this one because I've got right angles. And then actually I can see right away that, yep, this is the hypotenuse, this is the hypotenuse. Those are congruent. And then actually I have a pair of corresponding legs. So let's see how this what this given maps out for us for this HL. First things first, it says JL is congruent to GF. JL, GF, fantastic. Those are the legs. I'm going to put that L up there next to statement 1. Those guys are the legs. JL congruent to GF. Make sure your segment notation is over the top. They marked that one and gave it to us. For problem 2, or I'm sorry, statement 2, I'm going to pick up the next piece of the given, which is, I think, the hypotenuse. Yeah, it is. The KL and HF statement, those are the hypotenuse. That's the hypotenuse. That's my legs statement. This is my hypotenuse. KL congruent to HF. That one's given as well. Please. Now, last but not least in the given, oh, I didn't highlight that one. Last but not least in the given speaks to the fact that I've got 2 right angles. Angle J and angle G are right. That's given, are right angles. That's given. But what I need you guys to do in this next step is from that given, make a statement that these triangles, that means these triangles are right by definition. So triangle JKL and triangle GHF are right triangles but are right. And that's definition of right triangles. Right triangles have to have at least one right angle. What's up?
Does it matter which side you use for the leg? Because I know which side
These would be legs too. Those would be pairs. Like they could have given that pair of legs and it would still work. It would look more like an SAS. You know what I mean? No, it wouldn't. Never mind. Nope, never mind. I didn't say that. Take that away. We've got HL all the way down. We have our hypotenuse pair. We have our leg pair. We made this statement about right triangles. So our 5th step is just saying that, yep, JKL is congruent to GHF. Now, quick answer to number 6 is that these guys are not congruent, but all the work that goes along with it is on the back. And we got this party started in class, took all of our side lengths here. Now, I'm going to go through these reasonably quickly. When you get your side lengths on this, we just need to show that what all the different sides are. When I was on the left-hand side, I know in class I at least did the first, the AB length. BC's how far apart are 3 and 7. 3 squared plus 7 squared, that's 9 and 49. That's going to be the square root of 58 for side BC. You absolutely will be doing distance formula for calculations on your test this week. The how far apart's on C and A. CA are 2 and 2. 2 squared plus 2 squared is going to be the square root of 8. I'm going to put that up there. Now I move over to the other triangle, and the question is there anything in this other triangle that's equal to, are these side lengths equal to this other triangle? What's this is a 58. You can't hardly see that 5. So I come over here, FG, -2 to 2, -4 to 4. The how far apart's on both sides are 2. So FG is the square root of 2 squared plus 2 squared. That's square root of 8. Well, we had a square root of 8 on the other side, so let's see what happened. GH is sitting at -4, 4, and -4, -4. So that's a 0 and an 8 on how far apart's. 8 squared is 64. The square root of 64 is actually 8. So GH side is 8. These triangles aren't going to be congruent. Right now I only have one pair of congruent sides. And then I don't have a second pair. Nothing is congruent to the 8. And then HF is, what do we got? HF, -4, -4, -2, 2. The how far apart's are 2 and 6. 2 squared plus 6 squared is going to be the square root of 40. Is that right? Yeah. All right, so now we have the mathematics behind why they're not congruent. we only have one pair of congruent sides. The sides that were square root 8 match up, but we didn't have enough for the rest.